What's up YouTube? Capital G here, checking out Dupe's Appliancers that have finally been revealed coming out of our upcoming Battles of Legends. If you guys didn't watch Yu-Gi-Oh! Reigns, Dupe was basically like Yusaku's cleaning robots, and what's interesting about this archetype is the entire archetype is machine-based, but all the monsters in the main deck are under 500 attack, which means you can machine dupe basically this entire deck, so that seems kind of crazy. Anyways, let's go ahead and jump into these little appliance units. The first one is going to be Appliancers Socket Troll. It's a dark machine monster, level 1, 100 attack and 100 defense, and you got a hard once per turn on both of the effects. The first effect says if you control an Appliancer monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. The second effect is if another Appliancer Socket Troll is special summoned to your field while you control this monster, you can special summon one Socket Troll from your deck. So we always like monsters that allow you to get them on field without using your normal summon. That's always going to be pretty solid because if you open with another Appliancer, you can automatically just special summon Socket Troll. That's pretty good. The second effect, at first I read it and I was like, wait, so you want me to have Socket Troll on field, then special summon another Socket Troll and I get the third one for free? That seems good, but it also seems like it can be a pain in the butt. Like, what's the chances of me having two of the same card? But don't worry, there's another monster that makes that second effect a lot easier to actually activate. So this is definitely a pretty solid start to the archetype. Next up, we have Appliancer Breaker Bunkle. It's a water machine monster, which how many water machines do we have? Another level 1, 0 attack and 0 defense this time, and neither effect is actually a hard once per turn. Your first effect says during damage calculation, if your Appliancer monster battles an opponent's monster, you can discard this card. Your battling monster cannot be destroyed by battle. Also, you take no battle damage from that battle. Second effect, if an Appliancer monster you control would be destroyed by card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard or field instead. Okay, I like this. It's a utility card. I mean, I wish that it would have had more like an honest effect or maybe a collude where you would have actually gained some attack value. But, you know, having your monster not be destroyed by battle and not taking any battle damage can be kind of nice. And I really do like the graveyard effect because the graveyard effect allows you to kind of use this card as a link material and basically get like some type of protection from your graveyard. If your opponent, you know, you got a decent sized board, your opponent throws that lightning storm or something like that at you, you get free protection a la Salamangreat Banelink. So, you know, that's always been pretty good in Yu-Gi-Oh! We got the last one. This is Appliancer Copy Vocal. It's a dark machine, also another level 1, 0 attack and 0 defense. So as I said, all of these monsters, you can use machine dupe on all of them. So for you Cyber Dragon players, you ain't gonna be the only ones using machine dupe anymore. The second and first effect of this guy is a hard once per turn. First effect says during your main phase, you can target one Appliancer you control, special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, this card's name is treated as the name of the targets until the end phase. Second effect, during your main phase, except the turn that this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card in your graveyard, then target one Appliancer you control, special summon one monster with the same name from your hand or graveyard. So this is basically how you're supposed to trigger the first Appliancer's effect. Like if you have it on field, you can special summon this guy from your hand. It counts as, you know, the original socket, and then basically you get the third socket from your deck. So it's basically like a 2-card combo that ends up giving you 3 cards, like 3 monsters on field, which is not bad. I also like the fact that we got a free potential Monster Reborn in this card that can be activated from the graveyard. That seems incredibly useful. It would have been lovely if you could have used it in the same turn that this guy was sent to the graveyard. I guess that would have made machine duplication even more nuts, but this archetype has a whole lot of link 1, so I can definitely see that effect being useful. Honestly, because we only have 3 monsters and because they're all machine dupeable, I think you gotta run 3 of all the main deck monsters. Like, no question dash, you have to run 3 of all of them. Next up to the Appliancer Link monsters, and we're gonna start with their Link 2. This is Appliancer Celtopus. This is a 0 attack Link 2 monster. The link arrows are bottom and bottom left, and it requires 2 Appliancer monsters. This card cannot be targeted for attacks or opponent's card effects while it is linked. Second effect, during damage calculation, calculation. If an appliance or link monster you control that is co-linked to this card battles an opponent's monster, that co-linked monster gains 1000 attack for each monster co-linked to this card during that damage calculation only. And then your third effect says once per turn, if an appliance or link monster you control that is not co-linked to this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can draw one card. Okay, so this is the boss monster of the archetype, but it's more like a setup boss monster in my opinion. Celtopus is a card that kind of empowers your other link monsters, specifically the link ones. And I think what Konami wants you to do here is they want you to summon Celtopus and then link a couple or co-link a couple of link ones up with it. Those link ones are going to be able to gain 2000 attack each anytime you're doing damage or you're battling with your opponent. And also this card will be pretty difficult for them to kill. Number one, they won't be able to attack it. Number two, they won't be able to target it with any card effects. And then if your opponent kills any of your link monsters that aren't linked up to this guy, you get to draw a card to kind of replace the card that you lost, because there are ways of moving monsters around in your main monster zone in this archetype. So clearly it doesn't seem like it's going to be that difficult, especially if we're talking about machine duplication and summoning 3 monsters at a time. Like, it's not going to be that difficult to achieve. So the first link one, we have Appliancer Vacuphont. This is a dark machine monster, 1000 attack, and it requires 1 Appliancer monster. It also points to the top right. Now with these Appliancer link ones, you can't use them as link material during the turn that you summon them, and that's just because Konami doesn't want you to go Sky Striker with these. They don't want you to be able to take 1 Appliancer link 1 and then turn it into all the other ones. Like, that would just kind of be stupid in this archetype. Anyways, your first and second are hard once per turn. Your first effect says during your main phase, you can send 1 card from your hand to the graveyard, then target 1 card your opponent controls, destroy that card. Second effect, during your main phase, if this card is co-linked, you can target 1 monster in your opponent's main monster zone, destroy that monster. Third effect, if this card is not co-linked, it can attack directly. Okay, so this is the main source of removal in this archetype. You got 2 removal effects. They're both incredibly good in my opinion. You got the first one that can just get rid of any card on your opponent's side of the field. You just discard something and blow a card up on their field. And then the second effect is a free removal. That just means that if you get this guy co-linked, obviously you'd want to co-link it with the link 2, you just get to blow up any monster in your opponent's main monster zone. Like, that's just free removal, and that's always going to be good. I like the fact that you also get to attack directly for 1000 attack if maybe it's going to be lethal just by going into this card. Honestly, I think all 3 effects of this card are good. It seems like a card that I would play probably 2 of. Maybe that's what my body is telling me, to play 2 of that. We have Appliancer Kappa Scale. This is a water machine monster. It's a link 1 as well. This guy unfortunately has 0 attack and it just points up. Your first and second effects are hard once per turn. First effect says during your main phase, you contribute this co-linked card. Special summon 1 appliance or link monster from your graveyard except another Kappa Scale. Second effect, during your main phase, you contribute this card that is not co-linked. Special summon 1 level 4 or lower appliance or monster from your graveyard. Okay, so this card is basically just like a transition card. It just gives you more options. It's a card that I would imagine you're basically looking to just summon and then tribute it immediately just to get something a little more useful. I don't really think you're going to be attacking with this card because it has 0 attack. And even if you did co-link it and you were gaining the attack from the link 2, why not just use one of the other link monsters? This card is just kind of like a stepping stone. It really isn't going to stay on the field all that long. I think that really the only time you're summoning it is if you want to tribute it for the other effects. Next up, we've got Appliancer Dryer Drake. This is a fire machine monster. It requires 1 appliancer. Its link points are top right, and then it says, actually none of the effects are hard once per turn. First effect says this card gains 1000 attack while it is linked, and this card has 0 attack. I forget if I said that or not. Second effect says once per turn during your battle phase, if this card is co-linked, you can switch the locations of 2 appliancer monsters in your main monster zone, including this card, and if you do that, other monsters can make 2 attacks during each battle phase this turn. Third effect, once per turn, if this card is targeted for an attack while it is not co-linked, you can negate that attack. Okay, so as I said before, this archetype does have some shenanigans where you can move monsters around in your main monster zone so that you can co-link them and you can unco-link them and you can do shenanigans like that. I like the fact that this card is a pretty good beat stick because it does gain 1,000 attack if it's linked, and obviously if it's co-linked and you've got a couple of co-linked monsters on the link too, this guy would be 3,000 attack during the damage calculation, which is kind of nice. To me, this feels just like another utility card. It's going to be used specifically just to move monsters around in the main monster zone to like co-link them and unco-link them and stuff like that. Next up, we have their last link one. This is a card that I think is just phenomenal. This is Appliancer Laundry Dragon. I love the artwork on this card too. It's a water machine monster, 1,500 attack, which, whoo, give that thing 2,000 attack and it's 3,500. It points to the top and it requires an Appliancer monster. And it says the first effect is neither player takes battle damage from battles involving this card. Second effect, once per turn, if this card is co-linked and it battles an opponent's monster, after damage calculation, you can banish that opponent's monster. I love that. Third effect says once per turn, if this card battles an opponent's monster while it is not co-linked, after damage calculation, you can destroy that monster, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to its original attack. So this is kind of like the battering ram of the archetype. Yes, you can't actually do battle damage with it. However, both of the effects have removal in them. You guys sensing the theme of the link ones that I really like. I like the cards that can get rid of stuff on your opponent's side of the field. If your opponent has a monster they're trying to stall with or a monster that's just bigger that you can't get off the field, this is the way that you go about taking that guy out. You're either going to blow it up or you're just going to banish that monster. So I like this card. I feel like all the effects are pretty good, except, you know, not doing battle damage to my opponent kind of sucks, but they can't do battle damage to me either. Appliancer Reuse is the monster reborn of this archetype. And by the way, am I the only one getting wind-up vibes from this archetype, just like the aesthetics of it? Anyways, it's a normal spell that says target one Appliancer monster in your graveyard, special summon that monster, but it is sent to the bottom of the deck when it leaves the field. This works on all the monsters, by the way, and it is not a hard once per turn. So obviously we gotta play this card. If we're gonna be machine duping our monsters and we're gonna be going into link ones for days, I see no reason not to run multiples of this card. If they didn't put a hard once per turn clause on it, there's probably a reason for that. We're going to be wanting to run or use this card maybe multiple times in a single turn. We have Appliancer Test, which is a normal spell that actually is a hard once per turn. Target one Appliancer link monster you control. Special summon as many link one Appliancer link monsters as possible from your graveyard to zones that card points to, but they are banished during the end phase. This is nice as well. Basically, so you can go into the link ones, then take the link ones, go into a link two, activate Appliancer Test, and it's basically like what? Like an Infernity Launcher or a Goki rematch where you get both of those link ones back for free. They're obviously going to be co-linked, so they're going to gain a bunch of attack during the damage calculations and the damage step and whatnot. And since they're summoned from the graveyard and not link summoned, it means that you can link them away for other link ones so that they won't be banished during the end phase. Finally, we have our field spell, Appliancer Electrical World. You got a hard once per turn on this card's activation. Your first effect is a Rhoda effect. When this card is activated, you can add one Appliancer card from your deck to your hand, except the field spell. Second effect, once per turn, if an Appliancer link monster is link summoned to your field, you can add one Appliancer monster from your graveyard to your hand. The third effect says once per turn, when either opponent or when either player's monster declares an attack, you can move one Appliancer monster you control to another main monster zone. Okay, we're obviously going to play three of this card. Number one, just the Rhoda or the Tenki effect is amazing, so we got to run it because of that. The second effect is also really good because we're always looking to link summon in this archetype, and if we link summon, we can get Socket Troll back from our graveyard, and then we have an Appliancer on field, so we can just special summon Socket Troll, and we can link plays, or we can go for even more like link plays. The third effect, I'm not 100% sold on. I still don't know if this whole little gimmick of moving the monsters around in the main monster zones is going to work, but honestly it doesn't matter if that works or not. The first two effects are so good, you run this card just because of that. But what do you guys think of the Appliancers? I'm not gonna lie, I actually think the archetype looks super fun. I don't know if it'll be like highly competitive, but I like the aesthetics of the archetype. I think that every card being machine dupable makes it at least like legitimate in my opinion. It gives it some legitimate power plays, and I think it'll be interesting interesting to see what people can do with this archetype. And yeah, some lovely artwork, especially on like the field spell and some of the other monsters. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. As always, leave what you thought in the comment section below. Subscribe if you have not already, and turn on that notification bell for daily videos.